Welcome back. This is part 9 of a series of videos of places along Route 66 dating back to 1926. We left off here in Maplewood. This was the third video of a St. Louis area, and so we're going to continue on out of St. Louis and into Brentwood, and we see the Trainwreck Saloon dating back to the 19th century. And we'll continue west along Original 66, and we come to the Village Bar. I had lunch there, pretty good burgers. Continuing west from there is Ellisville, mostly businesses and suburban, except for this little strip of this secluded road. It's named Ruck Road. Take a look on the right, there's Duck Crossing. As we leave Ellisville and head towards the area once known as Grover, we take this little stretch on Manchester Road. Up next is Pond, and on the right there's a service station that dates back to 1925. Continuing on Manchester Road, we reach Fox Creek, a very small community, perhaps a near ghost town, but it seems like it always was a small community. On the left is this old garage dating back to the 1920s, perhaps even 1917. You see it depicted as one of the three buildings, or two of the three buildings, on this topographic map. And to the south of that garage, you see a house currently unoccupied. On that top of the map, you see a house across the street. Surely it's this one here. And we'll continue south down Manchester Road. Let's take a look up this hill on the left here. We see a house depicted, and it must be this old house. Just west of here is an area once known as Portner Grove, even shows it on this 1949 map. But there's not really anything here these days. Do we consider it a ghost town? Perhaps. We're driving on Missouri 100. And here's the old Portner store, Henry Portner. And this area is also known as Hollow. And we're going to drive up and see the Hollow School. As you can see, it's been turned into a house. I looked for pictures from 1926. This was the closest I found, 1931. Also in Hollow, there's this nice little stretch here, Deer Creek Road, that you get the feel for the old road instead of that fast Missouri State Highway 100. We cross Missouri 100 and end up on Old Manchester Road. Here again we have that feel for the older road instead of that faster Missouri 100. the left here, we have a church dating back to the late 19th century. It's cool to see a place that predates Route 66 by almost 50 years. We drive for a while, and we don't see much that reminds us of the 1920s, but we see this replica gas station from that era in St. Clair, now an ice cream shop. And then there's this lesser-known bit of 66, because Commercial Avenue cut it off, but this would have been the path of Route 66 in 1926. This also dates back to 1926. If you like bourbon, check out this town. We've got this old hotel from the 1890s just off of Route 66. Hofflands, that's a near ghost town just east of Cuba. And then in Cuba, you've got this old bank right along Route 66. And then between the tracks and 66, you got the old Palace Hotel. And then just off of 66, you have this old theater from the early 20s. And then by 1926, it was called the Nicolai Theater Deluxe. It's best known as the Cuba Theater, because that's what it was called for about 40 years. And then in the last decade of its existence, Cuba Cinema. And then a year before 66 came in, the Southern Hotel was built. Next, let's take a drive through St. James. Most 66 travelers take James Boulevard all the way through town because very few know that originally 66 turned left on Wishen Street and then went down Eldon. So this is Eldon. As you can tell from the houses and these buildings, this is the older part of town. So this really has a 1926 look to it. Just a block to the south is Springfield Road, and that's an even older part of town that goes along the railroad tracks. Let's take a quick look at the old Opera House. I believe it was on the second floor of this building. That's Springfield Road off to the left. So 66 then curves right onto Springfield Road. And this is the west end of town. So we'll leave St. James and head off into rural Missouri. The next video in this series actually is back from January 2nd. I have an entire video dedicated to the ghost town of Dillon, Missouri. So check that out. If you're not a subscriber, be sure to subscribe to my Patreon at patreon.com/Route66Suite. That's where you can find all these videos.